I'm here at my favorite church in Florence, or I should say above Florence, the Basilica of San Miniato al Monte, which translates into English as St. Minius on the Mount. Now, what's this church doing up here? Well, according to legend, when St. Minius was martyred way back in the 1st century after Christ, he actually stood up after having his head removed, collected his head, and then walked all the way up to the top of the hill so that he could rest here. Now, the church is about 1,000 years old. It was consecrated in the year 1018 after Christ and is a celebrated example of Tuscan Romanesque style architecture. Like most Romanesque churches, San Miniato is rather low. Its walls are thick and its windows are small, so that means there's not much illumination on the inside. And when you walk into the church, you'll see that it's rather sparsely decorated. But that does not detract at all from its beauty. In fact, way in the back of San Miniato, you'll find that it's divided up into a couple of different levels. The lower of which is called the crypt, because in fact, that was where the remains of St. Minius were located, and there's an altar there inside of which you'll find a reliquary. And then stairs instead ascending up to what we call a presbyterium that was reserved for the presbyters or the priests inside. And so this clear reflection of reality where you're standing on what represents planet Earth, the crypt instead the afterlife, and of course the presbyterium instead representing heaven. And there in the conch, or the apse of San Miniato, you'll find this beautiful mosaic of a giant figure of Jesus Christ with symbols of the 4 evangelists on either side of him, reflecting this Byzantine tendency that was still very much alive in the 11th century. And when you're up on the presbyterium, you can go into the sacristy to see Spinello Aretino's perfectly preserved late 14th century frescoes illustrating the life of Saint Benedict. And the facade does a great job of doing what it's supposed to do, and that is preparing you for what you find behind it. Now notice the whole church is raised up there on a podium. There is stairs leading up to show, of course, that it is a sacred structure. Then you have 5 semicircular arches supported by those green engaged columns, and doors positioned in the central and 2 furthest bays, creating a perfectly symmetrical arrangement. And those 5 arches preparing you for the 5 arches that lead down into the crypt on the inside of the church. Then above the arcade on the facade, we have something that looks like a Greek temple front, surmounted by a triangular pediment. And there is a vertical rectangular window above which is a mosaic of Jesus Christ with the Virgin Mary to his right side and St. Minius to his left, indicating technically that the divine patron of this church is in fact Jesus Christ with his mother and the saint after whom the church was named. And if all of that is not enough to convince you to come up here, how about the breathtaking view of Florence down below? So the next time you're in Florence, make the trek up and visit my favorite church above the city, which is the Basilica of San Miniato al Monte.